Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The message reads like this. Hello brother Nashi, how are you? I am a 35-year-old woman. I have never been married before, and I hope that one day God is going to open up the doors for me so that I can find a man who will be willing to love me. As for me, brother Nashi, I do not know as to why I can't have a child. I have tried to have a child before with different men, but I have failed. I do not know what is wrong with me. It happened that it was in the year 2017. I was still back home in my country in Zim. I then met this other man on Facebook. When I met this guy on Facebook, he told me that he loved me with all of his heart. Brother Nashi, I lowered my level. I am a young woman who grew up staying in the suburbs, but this guy, he was working at a certain farm here in South Africa, but I told myself that maybe this is the man that God created for me. So let me go and be with him, even though he was working in the farms. This guy, he then sent me some money. After he had sent me the money, but unfortunately, when we were on our way traveling to South Africa, then we were deported back home. Maybe if I had remained back home, life was going to be much better. But my brother, you know, when you are in love, you just think that something, maybe the devil is the one who is working against you. At that time, when I was deported back home, I said, I do not want to give the devil a chance. This is the man that is supposed to marry me. I am going to have a child with this man. Brother Nashi, that man, he then sent me some more money. This time around, he said that I want you to come back to South Africa with a bus. So I got onto the bus. When we were still on the Zim side, people were busy stamping their passports. Whilst I was sitting on the bus waiting for people to finish up stamping their passports, then I had a running stomach. I just said, let me go to the toilet for only about a couple of minutes, since all the people have not yet finished stamping their passports. When I went to the bathroom, when I returned back from the bathroom, I then found out that the bus was nowhere to be seen. Everyone had quickly finished stamping their passports, and no one had realized that I was not in the bus. I had left my phone and my handbag in the bus because I was afraid of people that were going around just thinking that they were thieves. So to be safe, I had left my handbag as well as my cell phone in the bus. Brother Nashi, I cried, but at least I knew my boyfriend's phone number. I looked for someone who had a phone and I contacted my boyfriend, who then kept on calling my phone. And then that was when I heard that the bus, it was already on the South African side and they were not willing to wait for me. They told me that I was supposed to make other plans so that I can come to South Africa. My boyfriend spoke with the bus conductor. He was given another number of this other man who could actually transport me from the Zim side and come with me to the South African side. This is how I ended up being in South Africa. This guy, he left his job and he came and he picked me up in Musina. And when he came to pick me up, I then said, yes, this indeed is a man who loves me with all of his heart. When we arrived at that farm where he was staying, I was not used to that type of an environment. You know, when you grow up in the suburbs, you grow up around a neighborhood that is very quiet, but being in the farms, staying at the farm compound, it was really difficult and different. But I loved him, Brother Nashi, and fell pregnant for him, and it was as if he had waited for me to fall pregnant for him so that he can reveal his true colors to me. And indeed, he revealed his true colors to me. Brother Nashi, this man, he started beating me up each and every day. When he would return back from work, he would go to the next farm where there was a shabin. Sometimes he would return back home really late, somewhere around 10 p.m. without bathing. He would force me to have intercourse with him. You know, people who work in the farms, it is hard labor. They sweat a lot. This guy, he would go for days without bathing and he would force me to sleep with him. His armpits, they were really smelly. So there was a day when I vomited because of the pregnant hormones. The smell that was coming out of his armpits, it was just too much. He started beating me up, and he said that you think that you are very special because you grew up in the suburbs. He beat me up so hard. When people from that compound saw that this guy, he was mistreating me, there was another gentleman who was single who started proposing love to me, but I said no, I cannot do that. So my husband, he then heard that this is what was happening. One day he didn't go to the shabin as usual, and that guy, he came and he knocked on our door. Then my boyfriend said, go and open the door. He said quietly. So that guy did not even know that my boyfriend was with me. When I answered the person who was knocking at the door, that guy then said, come on, come out so that you and we can talk. Brother Nashi, whilst I was about to open the door, that was when my boyfriend punched me, and I was pregnant at that time. He punched me and he stabbed me right here in the chest. Even now, I am traumatized. I can't even date a man because I am scared that someone will end up killing me. I had to stay in the hospital for 8 good months, Brother Nashi, and I had a miscarriage. After this, I then ran away and I went and I started staying with my friend who was in another province. Whilst I was staying with my friend, she then said that this bad luck that you faced, let us go to a white garment prophet. We then went to a white garment prophet. That prophet then told me what we had already known in the family, because one of my uncle, who was my father's elder brother, he was a big businessman there in Zim. But at the time when he passed away, he was running mad. He was mentally ill. So when he was confessing, people just thought that these were the confessions of a mentally ill man, of a madman. So no one ever believed him. The confession that he was going around telling his relatives, the confession was like this. He said that when he wanted his businesses to grow, he once visited this other traditional healer. He was then told that the blood of a person who was not related to him by blood was needed. He then got onto his car late at night. As he was traveling from the city, he then met this other man who was just walking along the highway. This person was just hitchhiking. He then gave a lift to that man. Then he murdered that man. After he had murdered that man, he quickly returned back to that traditional healer's house, and they then removed the corpse of that man that my uncle had murdered. Then my uncle was given an axe and a hammer. All that he had to do was to smash the head of that man that he had murdered into several pieces. After that, he then collected the brains of that man that he had murdered. He then started eating them up. This is what gave him money. So at the time when he was mentally ill, he kept on confessing. So when I heard this story about my father traveling to a traditional healer with his elder brother, the spirit of that man that my uncle had murdered, it had risen up. It was now fighting against my uncle. So they were looking for a way to block that spirit, and my father had been promised riches as well as being taken to that man who could make him to become a ritualist. My father was deceived, because when he went there, what was happening was that the ritual that he was made to perform, I was the one who was dedicated to that traditional healer's altar, thereby saving the life of my uncle. What happened during that ritual was that I was then dedicated to become the wife of the spirit of that man who had been murdered by my uncle. And my father, he was too stupid to realize that this is what had happened. When my father realized that this is what had happened, he then returned back to that traditional healer. That traditional healer then told him that he was supposed to bring my dirty underwear. He stole my dirty underwear when I was 15, and he went to that traditional healer to do blood money making rituals. This is where I am right now. My father, since that year when I confronted him about this issue, he does not want to talk to me. My father, he is wealthy. He does not want to talk to me. I am struggling, Brother Nashi. There are many times when I feel that it is far much better that I die than to continue this meaningless existence. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear sister. Quite a sad story. Just imagine, for the sake of blood money making rituals, you are told to murder a person, and after murdering that person, you take a hammer, then you start smashing that person's head, the one that you would have murdered, until the brains will be popping out. Then you start to eat everything. This lady said that he was holding the head of that man and he was sucking the brains out of that person's head. This is what the uncle did, and he ended up running mad. Yo,